Temurah Daf Tesvav, live from a house in Chicago, says the Mishnah. We know that if an individual brings a chatas and the chatas gets lost, so he replaces it with another chatas. When they find the original chatas after he had a kapara, as we're going to see, that original chatas is destined to die. What about if the community brings a chatas, it gets lost, they have a kapara with another chatas, and then they find the original chatas? So according to the Tanakama and Reb Shimon, this chatas doesn't die. Why? Because Halacha Moshe ben Sinai tells us that there are 5 chatos that are destined to die. And since 3 of them are only by an individual and not by a tzibur, so we say the other 2 are also. And one of the other 2 is this chatos sheniskapru ba'aleh. Why? Temurah, we said, is only by an individual. When a chatas has offspring, that could only be by an individual, because individuals, they bring a chatas that's an akeva, a female, whereas the tzibur brings the chatas, which is a zachar. It's impossible to have offspring. And to say that a chatas shemeisu ba'aleh, a chatas that the owner dies, a community doesn't die. So those 3 chatos are not possible by the community. Therefore, the other 2 chatos, which are a chatos that the tzibur already had a kapara, and a chatos that its year passed. So those 2 are also not by the tzibur. According to Rabbi Yehuda, chatos sheniskapru hatzibur dies. Now, a chatos of an individual that got lost, and the individual went and he was mafresh, he designated another chatos for himself, and then he found the original one, so he could use either one, any one he wants. But if he uses one, the second one cannot be put on the mizbeach. Why? Because it says, first of all, it says yavi, he can bring any one, and yavi'ena, he can only bring one, but not both. According to everybody, if while he had a kapara from the second one, the original wasn't found, and they only found the original later on, according to everybody, that original one has to die. But if it was found after he designated it, but before he had a kapara, this is machlokes tanoim. According to Rebbe and Reb Shimon, the chatos must die, and according to Chachamim, and according to one side of Rabbi Yehuda, yira ad sheyistav, you let it graze until it befalls him. Says the Gemara that when Klai Yisrael came back from the Shevi, from the Goyla, from Bavel, they had to bring a whole series of korbanos, and the Torah calls them oilos. And the reason why they brought these korbanos were for the avodah zarah that their forefathers did in the generation of Tzidkiyahu. For the avodah zarah, even though their forefathers were mazed, nevertheless they were able to bring korbanos because, as the Gemara says at the end, it was hirasha, it was a special halacha for that generation. And then you see that it's a special halacha because if it wasn't special halacha, then they would bring from every type of carbon 12 for each seir. From the fact that they brought 96 sheep, you see that was a special halacha. Even according to the Manda Omer that says the chatas shekabru ba'aleh mesa, but in this case, chatas, when the tzibur dies, according to one pshat in the Gemara, when the tzibur dies, then you could still bring a carbon. Why? Because there's no concept of a tzibur, of a community dying. Another pshat is that the tzibur didn't die. They had remaining people from that generation, although they weren't the majority. But in terms of their crying, their simcha when they came back to Eretz Yisrael for the Beis Hamikdash, it was greater than the simcha that the generation that didn't see the Beis Hamikdash had, and therefore they're considered the majority. And as the Torah says, even the chatos that Klai Yisrael brought for the generation of Tzidkiyahu, they were called oilos because they were completely consumed like an oila. Says the Gemara, a beautiful Gemara, that from the time that Yosef ben Yoezer Ish Sreda was nifter, batlu ha'eshkolos. They're no longer eshkolos. Literally, eshkolos mean grape clusters, but the Gemara uses it as a lashon of ish shakol bay, people that had Torah, yiras chet, and gemilos chesed. From that generation on, they didn't have it. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda says, in the name of Shmuel, that at the time when Klai Yisrael was mourning Moshe Rabbeinu, from the pain that they had, they forgot 3,000 halachas. and they weren't able to return those halachas through pilpul, through logic. What they had to do is they had to argue with each other, and based on the majority, they were able to paskin. But the other halachas that they didn't forget, then the ashkolos, these people that had yiras chet, yemilos chesed, and Torah, they were able to learn on the same level as Moshe Rabbeinu. And says the Gemara, they didn't have any flaws. In other words, they didn't have nu machlokesen. But at the end of the days of Yossi ben Yezer, when their hearts were nismayit, their hearts shrunk, and they started arguing with each other if you could do smicha yantiv. But real, to say that they had a chisar in chet, that they had a flaw in chet, that they didn't have. As the Gemara proves, the Gemara says a story from Ma'aseh b'chassid echad. The Gemara says when we say Ma'aseh b'chassid echad, we're referring to Rabbi Yehuda Bar Bava or Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eli. Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava and Rabbi Yehuda ben Eli. Now what? The Gemara says either or, one of them was sick, and they told him, the doctor said, in order for you to be cured, the Chacham said, you need to take a goat and drink hot goat milk. So he tied the goat to his bed. Says the Gemara that they found that this Rabbi Yehuda didn't have a single chet in his entire life. The only chet that he had was the fact that he tied the goat to his bed. As Chacham said, you're not allowed to bring up a goat in Eretz Yisrael, and that he wasn't supposed to do. Even though he's sick, perhaps he wasn't a Chodesh Yesh B'Sakana, and that they considered Naver against him. In other words, you see that many generations later, we still had Ishesh Koilos, we had people that had zero chet. And with that, we'll be Messiah, and Be'ezer Hashem, we'll see you on Motzei Shabbos.